Hunter, how are you, my friend?
Oh, I'm doing so good. How are you?
You know, I'm doing okay, but it's whatever, man. It wouldn't matter if I wasn't anyway.
Well, it would, exciting news today. Episode 1 went live, and all of our friends got to see it. So,
I know, dude. Last time I looked, after 8 hours, we had 25 views. So we're basically viral at this point.
That's right. We are. I mean, we're going to break the internet if we're not careful.
I went ahead and just tweeted out our decision to quit our day jobs and become full-time podcasters here.
Oh. Well, I guess I'll have to tell my boss. He's not going to be happy.
Just don't tell him.
Oh, just quit showing up?
Yep.
Oh, they love that, I bet.
Yeah, to see how long you can get paid and not do anything.
That sounds like a fun game that I am not courageous enough to play.
I mean, I feel like if they just let that happen, it's kind of their fault. Like, they should be keeping up with the work you do. So if they don't, they keep paying you, then it's not your fault. You didn't ask for the money.
That's true.
I mean, that's my mindset on it.
Sounds good. Let's just take this. We can take this corporate fraud scheme on the road.
Yeah, I mean, it's, the goal of engineering, I've always said, is to get the most done with the least amount of work possible. So,
unless you're a civil engineer, then please, dear God, do your job because we'll all die.
Yeah, if you're a civil, you may be the most important type of engineer that there is.
That is true.
It's kind of funny because every single branch of engineering that, I found in engineering school anyway, they all have that other branch that they pick on and that they kind of make fun of it. It's pretty humorous when you actually hear people talk about it. Like, we literally have any reason to beef with anybody at all. We're all nerds and we all did a bunch of math together. Like, the only difference is we like to have mechanical stuff that moves and civil engineers like to have stuff that doesn't move.
Right.
That's literally the difference.
I think I was having a conversation about the civil versus mechanical, and I'll tell this quick, but it's a really funny story. And we were talking about how you have to double check and triple check yourself when you're doing civil, because like if you do anything wrong on a bridge design, the bridge could collapse. And that's something that they drill into your head in the civil engineering program. And I was like, they didn't really talk about that with us in school, but this is a true story from work. We were finishing a machine, and there's a reject area on the machine that kicks out the parts that don't pass inspection. And a guy pokes his head around the cubicle, and he's like, "Hey, Hunter, what is the distance from the bottom of the machine up to this point inside the machine where the pneumatic cylinder fires this part off of the line and down the chute and into the reject bin?" And I was like, it's 11 inches. That's how far the thing falls before it gets to the bin. And they said, oh, well, we probably should think about that because 11 inches is enough for somebody to shove their hand up in the machine and deglove themselves or lose a finger. And I'm like, okay. I didn't think about that because in my mind, if a machine's running, you don't put your hand in there. But apparently this is something I now have to do. I have to debase myself and think, how horribly could I kill myself on this machine if I was an idiot? And then I have to design around that. So it's a different application, but now I have to design things where people won't die. So,
I mean, I get it, man. That's one thing that we really weren't taught that much of is kind of the human engineering side of things. Like, you have to you kind of touched on it in senior design, I remember, but you really have to think, whenever I'm building this, what is the worst thing that someone could do with it? And it's kind of like that running joke of whenever you see absolutely absurd safety signs and do not do this type thing from signs, because there's a reason those signs are up, because somebody did that task or that thing. So it's the exact same way. You have to really, really think about that. What's the worst thing someone could do? Could they put their foot up in this thing because it's a perfect, 90-degree angle? Can they shove their arm up in this and get it stuck. I mean, it's ridiculous, that sort of thing. But really, there's entire fields of engineering that are literally devoted to figuring out how to keep the less inclined people from doing things like that to themselves.
You were about to say moron, so I'll say it. The morons.
I mean, if you don't know anything about electricity, don't go sticking your hand, in a circuit breaker. Don't stick a spoon in an outlet. If you don't know how a mechanical thing works, don't go poking around in it, because, man, you can hear all those old stories before OSHA was a thing, and there were just really no rules about the horrible stuff that happened from people that just, there wasn't the safety mechanisms on machines and devices and stuff like that. So, man, it's crazy. You have to really, really think about that, and especially in your line where you're designing parts and machines that people will be working with every single day. I imagine you have to do your best to make it stupid proof.
Absolutely. Basically, I just have to think. I have to think about just stopping natural selection is kind of in terms of what I do. So I'm like, well, how could this really hurt someone? And I have to think of all the way. And it makes me feel kind of dumb, because I'm like, of course you wouldn't shove your hand up in something that's moving, but somebody might. They might not know, so yeah, basically I just thumb my nose at natural selection, and I'm like, ha ha.
I mean, and it's a thing that it's really important, because especially in industry, and I mean, I'm sure you found it. I mean, everything when you really go out into the workplace, it's all centered around the bottom dollar. So, the time and the general, you should understand this, to new employees at a different company that are using your machine, for example. If the time wasn't taken to tell them, hey, do not stick your hand up this outshoot, because there's a lever arm that comes down and will snap it off. Like, if somebody didn't explicitly say that, who knows? Something gets stuck, they just shove their hand up in there, and it's, right. It's like, why would that be your first option? Why is that your initial thought? This is the best way to dislodge this can from sliding down here, is to shove my arm up in this mechanical device. Like, it doesn't make sense when that happens, man, but it does every day.
I say all that, just the alternative is, someone injures themselves on one of our machines, we get sued, and I lose a job. So I guess really the alternative is worse. But it is kind of silly to put yourself in those shoes and have to think, like, if I didn't have common sense, how could this thing hurt me?
I mean, that's really what you have to think about. And, it's a mindset to think about that stuff. You have to sit there and be like, what could possibly go wrong? How could I hurt myself the worst ways on this if I tried to? And, once you come up with all those, hopefully you've got it all. But, man, I found, especially when like field engineering occurs, when something goes wrong and people decide to just fix it the best way that they know how on the fly, that's usually when the worst stuff happens to it. So you really have to keep all that stuff in mind, man. It's a wild world out there. It's the Wild West when it comes to that bottom dollar.
That's true.
In manufacturing, which is kind of what we're both in here, nobody wants to get in trouble, especially if you're you're on a line working, and because of that, people just do what they can to keep, production or whatever moving along. And,
right.
I've tried to really instill that at work. Like, if something goes wrong, like, we do a whole lot of stuff. Like, we have a lot of things that come out really, really quickly. So, obviously, failures are going to happen. Mistakes are going to happen. Let me know when that happens. And don't just try to jerry-rig it to where it works, because that's when accidents occur, and when it ends up being way worse than if you had said, hey, Cody, we messed this piece up. What do we need to do?
Right.
Well, that's our safety talk for the day. Don't stick your arm in things that you're not supposed to stick your arm in.
Amen.
Or your foot, or your finger, or your head.
Just don't stick anything where it doesn't belong. That's really the long and short of it all.
If any part of your body gets to where you cannot see it whenever you stick it into something else, just don't stick it up in there.
Who knows what'll happen?
Like that's what always makes me laugh whenever I see, certain signs in different places and safety signs. It's like, there's a reason these are up. It's because somebody did this, and it. The best one I've ever saw was it was for it's like a power bus or something, and they said that their boss said that there wasn't a clear enough description of what would happen on it if somebody touched a part they weren't supposed to. So the sign was like, "Do not touch. If you do, you will die, and it will hurt the whole time." I was like, well, that's pretty clear.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to be pretty dumb to touch it after that, I think.
But still, people do.
Well,
and that's why they're under like padlock with these big metal cases on them. Because man, people just try to get into stuff. It's ridiculous, but it happens. But anyway, Hunter, you want to talk about our new segment that we're going to have here for the next few months anyway?
Absolutely.
We really discussed this, and I know that everybody wants to know how Hunter's leg is healing and, know about the process, because as you heard last time, it was, what are we at now, 11 weeks of no weight on it?
Well, yesterday marked 10 weeks to go. I'm 2 weeks post-op.
Okay, so 10 weeks of no weight on it, and y'all are going to be getting a weekly update, and we were going to call it Hunter's Leg Segment, but we thought the best name to call it was Hunter's Legment, because that's just funny. I don't care what you say. So
short, sweet, and to the point.
So go ahead, Hunter, and give us your weekly Legment.
My weekly Legment. All right. So I've got my legs in a cast right now. I cannot see what's going on in there, but tomorrow I'm going to get recasted, because this one is now loose. So I assume that some swelling has gone down, which is great. So it's, all things considered, it's good. I'm finishing up my second round of antibiotics tomorrow morning, and we're hoping that that takes care of some things. I've been more inclined to be out and about. My energy level's kind of returning to normal. Those first week and a half after surgery, I just felt, obviously my body had undergone some severe stress, so I just felt whooped. And now I'm starting to get back on a normal schedule. This coming Monday, they're going to clear me to go back into work, so I won't have to work remote anymore. I got myself a cool little knee scooter, and today I got a care package from my aunt. She sent me, amongst some other things, a cup holder for my knee scooter. So this thing's decked out. I've got a basket. I put a little Decepticon sticker on it. Got myself a cup holder. Got a cushy pad for the knee rest. And the funny part is, I told the folks at work that I had a knee scooter, and that it goes pretty fast, because whenever you put it on anything that's not flat ground, it'll get away from you.
Gravity works. Gravity
does work. And so I guess somewhere it got lost in translation. They think I have an electric one, because
like old people.
yeah, like a rabbit or whatever those are called, the things that you see inside Kroger or Walmart.
A little jazzy scooter.
Yeah. So I just am kind of letting them believe that I've got a powered one, and then when I kick in there on Monday with a analog scooter, they're going to be like, "What the heck, man?" But I told them
analog scooter.
I told them that it goes fast, and one of the guys was like, "I'll have one of the programmers out on the floor get into it and up the max speed." and so I'm like, "Oh, they think I have a powered one." I'm going to let them believe that I do.
Well, now that they're willing to turbocharge it for you, you should get one.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. They're expensive, though. They're like thousands of dollars for a powered one. This one was like $100 on Amazon, and it's great.
Listen, I don't want you to get arrested, but those ones that they have at like Kroger and Walmart, those would be pretty easy to bring home with you.
What are they going to do? I have a cast on my leg. What are they going to do? Stop me?
Sir, get... Oh.
Sorry, I can't hear you. I'm casted.
Sorry, I can't hear you. My leg's broke. Oh, that'd be so funny, dude, if they could trick you out a Jazzy scooter. You have that thing turbocharged.
That's
and
right.
Put some Flowmasters on it or some cherry bombs,
That'd
something like that. Just
super cool.
I'm thinking, though, with your knee scooter, do you remember those Razor scooters when they came back out? They put that little piece of metal on the back when you push it down. The sparks go flying.
Yeah. Oh man,
get you some of those. And they also made some. I know that they had kind of like little pivot wheels or caster wheels or something like that on them. So as you were going, you could drift it. Man, you would have the most doped out knee scooter ever.
The sad part is I already struggle with this one, so odds are, I mean, it's hard, and I don't mean to sound like I'm fishing for sympathy, but I fell off because I'm so tall. I'm 6'2". I fell off of my crutches because I'm so tall and I'm not used to supporting myself that way. So that's why I bought the knee scooter. But like, it's still challenging. You basically have to reprogram yourself to walk a different way. And it's really difficult. And so that all sounds great in theory, but in execution, I'd probably shatter another bone because I'd like sail off of it and slam into the wall or something.
Hit a ramp. Who can stand? Oh man,
everything goes slow-mo.
I can imagine that if you had one of those, and you would have to kind of reprogram your body, to be able to move around with it. And then once you get back to where you're doing PT, man, you're going to look like a newborn deer trying to walk.
I know. I hope somebody films it.
I mean, shame on you if you don't have it filmed, because that could be our first ever visual podcast, because that's just funny, man.
You just watch me try to walk.
I mean, I know whenever I had my meniscus repaired, just the cartilage around the knee, I had it repaired. It was on a Monday, and by Thursday I was off of my crutches. Okay, I was weight bearing at that point. Started to on the Wednesday. But even when I went to PT just after that short amount of time, she was in there like, all right, give me 5 squats holding these 5-pound weights. And I was like, oh, okay. I was in pretty good shape at that point. I was going down and I was like, why is my body not working?
Yeah.
What happened?
I'm afraid that after, it's 10 more weeks, 12 weeks total. I'm afraid that this leg is going to look all shriveled and just weird. And I drive a manual. This is my clutch foot, so it was already stronger than my other one. So I don't know. I'm hoping that he hangs in there, but it's weird. Like I'll be laying down, and it's like my muscles can tell that I'm not doing enough, and they just fire. Like my thigh muscle. Yeah, it's just like, hey. So I don't know. I think my leg is like, hey, dude, listen. We've got to move, but there's nothing I can do with it. It's.
If you really want to be comical, go get you a set of those resistance bands and just beef up your other leg for the next 10 weeks, and then you'll be comical at that point.
I look like a funhouse mirror.
Yeah, you have one leg that literally is just massive, like it's the strongest leg in the entire city, and then the other one it's frail and weak.
Yeah,
that'd be so funny.
I'm kind of curious to see what things look like tomorrow. I mean, it's now I've been able to digest the pictures and digest what it looked like when they cut me out the first time. I was honestly shocked. I don't know what I was expecting. I've never broken a bone before. I've never had surgery to have metal put in me, but the pictures, and Cody's seen them. The pictures of my leg when they cut me out of that splint after surgery. And that was a week after surgery. Good Lord. Like I almost panicked. It was horrifying.
And I'll say this, as I think you and me are really good friends. I'd even put you in the category of one of my best friends. So I mean this with
Oh, well,
all
I'm honored.
sincerity. Yeah, I mean this with all sincerity. Your leg looked absolutely nasty, and I wanted to be nowhere near you with that thing. Like, it was gross looking, but yeah, I'm hoping that it's down. I didn't know that many colors could appear on one leg.
Nope.
I mean,
Nope.
dude, you were like a nasty rainbow at that point. Just
Yeah.
every worst possible shade of every color was on your leg.
Yeah, it was intense. And seeing the pictures now, I can kind of laugh at it and how goofy it looks. But when you're in the moment and you see that attached to you, the only way I can describe the feeling is like when your computer throws an error code and it's like, I don't know what to do with this. That's what my brain said to me. Like, it was like, I don't know what to do with that. It's attached to you. That's your leg, but it's not how it's supposed to look. So we're going to have to figure out what's going on. And like, my breathing got real shallow, and I didn't ever come close to passing out, but
Cut it off. Cut it off.
Boy, it was an experience. And I don't know. I don't know how I didn't lose my cool, but I definitely had I guess what I would describe as a small panic attack, because I just, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I can imagine, because it's like you said, you had never broken a bone before, and then you had like a major car wreck level incident from a 6-inch fall, which is still kind of funny, but you had this like literally catastrophic injury. So I can imagine after you see it for the first time, I'm positive that when you go in there, doctors do the very best they can to be, I don't think they go in there just, rah, 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 trying to cut you open and everything. But I think they try to be as gentle as they can, as delicate as they can. But man, you got to think, to repair what you had done, screws and plates were put into your leg. So they had to really get in there as far down as your leg goes, and then, set everything back right, and then Frankenstein you back together so it can heal. So
the good news is, everybody who's seen my x-rays of the reassembled leg, everybody's like, wow, that looks incredible. And so I'm like, all right, I'll take your word for it. I don't have any, I think it looks cool,
Oh, yeah.
But I don't have any basis to compare it to. But if a bunch of these medical professionals, like people that my mom works with at her hospital and people that work with Bree at her hospital, if these people are looking at it and they're like, holy cow, that looks super good, I'll just, okay, thanks. That's good to hear.
You want to know what the best part about this entire thing is, though? And, you're going to have to really play the long game with it. But whenever you all decide to grow your family, man, anything that your kids ever have wrong with them, well, yeah, you got a sprained ankle. Well, I literally destroyed my leg. And then, for the third time this year, you pull out the X-ray pictures of an entire box of drywall screws that have been put into your shin bone. So,
no, son, look at the photos. Look, just quit crying and look at the photos.
He's 4. He's old enough.
This is the real world.
Oh, you got a cut playing t-ball? Look at my leg.
Don't tell Dad that you skinned your knee on the sidewalk. He'll get out the leg x-rays again.
Oh, Dad, don't get those out again.
We're going to be great parents.
I mean, I feel like when you get old, like, that's just an obligation that no matter what the younger generation is going through, you had it worse.
That's right.
Like, honestly, I can remember, and not even that far back, this was said to me, but my grandma was like, yeah, I used to get a ride to school part of the way with a milkman. I was like, the milkman? She's like, yeah, he'd drive part of the way, and then I'd have to just walk the rest of the way. He'd drive me almost halfway out there. If I could catch him, sometimes I'd have to walk the entire way. And I was like, was this barefoot both ways uphill in the snow? Like, it's ridiculous. I'm like, well, my AC doesn't work all the time in the summer, so.
Oh, man.
But yeah, dude, you're gonna have to keep those pictures, not lose them, because that's gonna be anytime something ever happens. Oh, Hunter's pulling out the X-ray pictures again.
No, you see, that's a great thought, and I for sure I'm going to bookmark that for later. But I don't think that's the best thing that's going to come out of this broken leg deal. I think the best thing to come out of it is I now have an excuse to use the handicap stall at work. Now, hear me out. I'm what is called a shy pooper. If I can avoid...
I understand.
I'm really trying to keep it together right now. If I can avoid going in public, I will. Home is a sacred place. However, if I absolutely have to, the handicap stall is almost a must. Unless it's like DEFCON 9, then then we can talk about another stall. But everyone else at my work also prefers the handicap stall. And now that's the only one I can use for either reason to go to the bathroom, because I can't stand at a urinal with my knee scooter. So if I've got to go, I have got to use the handicap stall. And so now if somebody's in there, I get to wait impatiently with my scooter and then give them a look when they come out of the handicap stall and make them feel guilty for the rest of the day. That, my friend, is the best part.
I really like the idea of since you can't stand up, just using a urinal as a normal toilet while you. What are y'all looking at?
just be like, excuse me, like limp over and like hop off the scooter. Excuse me, will you stick your hands under my armpits real quick? Will you just
hold me up?
Will you just support me real fast? And because I've got one leg dangling, I can't I have to do the kindergarten thing now where I pull down past. I pull down past. This may be TMI, but I don't care. I think it's funny. I have to pull down past where a normal adult would stop pulling their pants down, just because I'm crippled. I don't have the ability and the luxury of being able to stealth use the restroom. So that's going to be good, and I have to use the bar to get up and down because it's really hard to stand up with just one leg. So yeah, I'm excited about the ability to have a reason to use that handicap stall at work, because it's my favorite to begin with, and now it's almost like it's reserved for me. So,
I would make it a point anytime you ever see someone go into that restroom, I'd immediately go in it also.
just kind of idle outside the door.
Y'all going in here? Yeah, me too.
Better not grab that handicap stall.
You never know when I'll have to go.
I don't know. I know I mentioned this on the phone the other night when we were talking about what to talk about. Should I go ahead and tell the funny story about since we're on topic? Should I tell the funny story about the bathroom incident my first week at work?
Oh, God, please, yes.
Okay, all right. So I apologize if people don't like the restroom talk, but
it's funny.
I like to take every element of life and laugh about it, even if it involves the bathroom. So as we all know, I'm a shy pooper. I don't like to go in public. If I do have to go, I like the handicap stall. And I really don't like for there to be other people in the bathroom, to the point, and I know Cody's the same way, to the point where if somebody comes in, I wait until they're gone to resume operations, because I don't like the idea of somebody else listening to me.
Yeah.
So my first week of work, I started waking up early, and I don't know if this happens to anybody else, but when I change my sleep schedule, my bathroom schedule changes as well. I'm not sure why. I don't know if it's because my internal clock gets off and my body's like, "What? Just send it all." I don't know. I don't really know what causes that, but it was my first week of work, and I had to go really, really bad. And I didn't want to, but I had to. So I got up and I went to. There's 2 bathrooms within an immediate vicinity of my workplace, like where my cubicle is. And so the first one I went into was totally full. There was no stalls. I'm like, dang it. I guess I picked the wrong time. So I go to the other bathroom, and all but one stall is occupied. And the stall is, of course, not an end one. It's one right in the middle. And so I'm like, well, it's either this or I guess I could die. So I opted to go in, and I sit down, and I'm already uncomfortable, and I'm really trying to keep the noise level down. But the guy next to me, I didn't really have to keep the noise level down, because the guy next to me was making so much noise that I think he's okay, but I'm not entirely sure. But it was the most horrid, loud shotgun diarrhea that I've ever heard in my entire life. I mean, it's like boom, 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 boom. And I'm sitting here, and I'm worried for his health now, because I'm not even focused on my issues anymore. I'm just thinking, is this guy okay? Or am I going to have to call 911 for them to come get him out of here? And he's breathing heavy, and he's like grunting, and it just was one of the worst experiences. And so I texted Bree, and I was like, and I briefed her on what was going on. And I was like, this is a reminder. This is my first week of work. I was like, this is too much. I was like, I think I'm going to have to quit.
You know how bad a situation has to be for you to want to quit a job in the middle of a pandemic?
I was like, this is a lot. I said, I don't know if I can do this every day. And fortunately, I didn't have to. I've managed to rein my schedule in. So, but yeah, that was something that I don't think I'll ever forget. And, the funny part is the janitor and I have we're not super close, but he's pretty vocal about his opinions. And, he tells me some of the awful things that happen at our facility in the restroom. And that wasn't, unfortunately, the worst thing that he had experienced. And so I was like, oh, you poor man. I don't think I could do what you do. I'll just sit here and design on a computer.
No.
But yeah, it's intense. There's a lot of adults that need less fiber, and they also need to have their mothers and fathers rebody train them, because heavens. And I wonder if a lot of other workplaces are like that, where you've got like a shop floor or a machine shop where you've got guys out there who are pretty much existing on coffee,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's the common denominator, is the copious amounts of coffee.
Yeah, it's the copious amounts of coffee, and the fact that, production just has to go so quickly that your breaks are so limited, and so, like, you have to be so quick in them. It's like, man, you got to do your business and go.
It's got to happen now, or it's not happening until quitting time.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it is. Like, some places are a little more lax, and you have a little more leeway, but man, on like high production lines, or the ones where it's like the common stuff, you have your morning break, you have your lunch break, and then like that's it. That's the only chance you get to go, because otherwise you're holding everything up. So yeah, man, I get it. It's rough. I'm glad that I'm not in that situation, but yeah, I'd hate to be someone who has to, go through those high traffic, like, production line bathrooms, because I bet that is just, that's gonna be a no from me, dog.
So that, that's my story.
So I'm glad we got to that on talking about your leg.
I know. Well, I mean, it all kind of flows. I got a broken leg. I get to use the handicap stall, which reminds me of my funny work story. So, it doesn't. It's not too ADD, right?
No. So I got to know, how are you getting to work whenever whenever they clear you to go back?
Well, we haven't pounded out the details yet, but Bree has to be at work around the same time that I do. So I assume what we'll do is will get up. Normally I would bathe in the mornings, but I can't do that now because it takes me so long.
Because you have to be sponge bathed.
Yeah, every time. It's
best part of a broken leg.
No, that's the best part. No, so I assume I'll get up and I'll get ready, and she'll drop me off a little bit early, and that way she can make it on time, because my work is a little bit more flexible than hers. Like, because I can kind of come and go as I please, provided it's not ridiculous hours. She is more constrained to when the office is open and not. So she can drop me off a little bit early, and I can go in and kind of get a head start on my day, and then she can go to work, and then she'll just come pick me up when she's done. So I think that's what we'll do, is because I certainly can't drive. Even if I owned an automatic, I still don't think I could drive, just because of how much it takes, and like, how am I going to get my scooter out? Like, in order to get in and out of a car and get my scooter, I have to have help. It just is what it is. So I think she'll chauffeur me around. And then on the days she can't, I didn't know about this, but our town has a handicap shuttle. It's a 2-way round trip, and they'll take you wherever you need to go within the city limits. And it's,
Ethra?
I think so. So it's,
yep.
And when I say 2-way round trip, it's a $2 round trip rather.
Yep.
So it costs $2, and they'll take you wherever you want to go. So on the days that she can't, which I don't think there'll be many, I can do that, or I could bum a ride with somebody else. A lot of my coworkers have already offered and said, they'll help us figure it out. So
I'm going to tell you this. You will, without a doubt, have been the youngest person to ever step foot on an Ethra bus. And I say that unjokingly, because it's generally just all very old people, and it's, the $2 to go and $2 to come, man. That's how it is. If I were Bree, I'd tell you just to stay there at work till you can drive again.
Yeah. Yeah, just throw out a little air mattress and just sleep underneath my desk.
Yeah, I'm sure that you've got a somewhere in the vicinity. There's probably a 24-hour gym you could scooter down to shower, and just get you a couple month membership, and literally. Well,
we have a shower at work, so that already solves that.
Shoot, you don't even have to go anywhere then.
Exactly.
Yeah, just take you out. Take you out enough money for the week, and just live off the vending machines, or. You could probably even get food delivered. I'm sure it's around. Sure.
Yeah, I've had that happen.
You literally would never have to leave the office.
I could just be like scooting around the halls at night, just whee.
Yeah, it'd be like that haunted scene, where like there's the one end of the hallway lit, and then there you see like the little thing crawl from room to room in the shadows. You just see you scootering room to room.
Legend has it that the hunter ghost haunts these halls at night. You can still hear his scooter wheels. I don't know. Nobody at my work is Scottish, but it just seemed like something that a Scottish person, just some folklore that they'd tell.
And I'll tell you this, I've never once watched a single horror movie where any person in it was Scottish.
I mean, I think they'd suck all the fear out of it. They'd just be like, screw the ghost. Let's go get a pint.
Ghost most. Yeah.
We got a monster that takes boats down.
I'll tell you what, though. Could you imagine the comp time you'd rack up that way?
Oh, my heavens. Never clocking out? Jeez.
You're basically working for $3 an hour, but man, that comp time.
Be perfect.
Well, that's a pretty good segment. I'm glad that we talked about your leg for literally 30 minutes straight right there.
Well, that and other things. But hopefully I'll have some better developments later on down the road, and the legment will remain interesting.
I really hope that you have to end up taking Ethra, just because, like I said...
Stories from the bus?
Dude, you can gossip with the old people.
Oh, God.
And I'll say this, man. I have found out that, everybody always talks about the gossiping and the rumors and stuff that happened in high school.
Yeah.
Man, nothing is compared to old women at the beauty salon.
That's true.
Caroline's, her grandma, she is the gossip queen.
I got a taste of it at the doctor's office because there were 3 of us that were on knee scooters, and we were all called back at the same time to the X-ray waiting area. And it's like, it doesn't matter what walk of life you're from, how old you are. I mean, they were all older women, and then there was me. But the point is, when you're on a knee scooter, that binds all of us. And so we was like, hey, let's talk about our scooters and how difficult it is to use them. And like, I just had nothing in common with these women other than we all had these knee scooters, and then we just all struck up a conversation. So I don't know. Maybe that's what the world needs, is we just need to have a unifying thing where we're all on knee scooters. And I think that would solve a lot of our problems.
Oh, this world is not designed for knee scooters.
You got that right.
Coming from hearing about your experience, the two things this world is not designed for is knee scooters and left-handed people.
That is true.
Yeah, I'm left-handed, so I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, this world was not designed for me. Good times, man. I'm glad you're making some progress with your leg, and hope we have some good gossip stories from the blue-haired women at the the Ether bus, and
I'll know who stole whose casserole dish and all that.
Yeah, dude, you'll get to hear all the gossip, dude. I'm telling you, make friends with them, because every single day that you ride that, before you know it, you'll end up there at the Great Clips, and you'll be a weekly member.
I'm hoping some of them like carry candy in their purse, because that would be a nice little treat.
Oh, and it's going to be that strawberry candy that you can't buy.
Oh yeah,
that you put in your mouth and it kind of just sticks to your molars in the back.
Exactly. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
that's worth the $2.
I mean, they bought those bags back in 1984, and they've just been pulling out a few pieces at a time, and for the original, you can't. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm a candy guy. When it comes to sweets, I would pick candy over probably anything. I've bought a lot in my lifetime. I have never once seen those strawberry candies in the store ever.
Are you talking about the ones that have like the jelly in the middle?
It's kind of like a jelly, and the wrapper is kind of like a thin foil that looks like a strawberry.
It looks like a strawberry, and the top is green.
Yeah.
There's only one place to get those, and let me tell you something. Those are some of my favorite candies too.
1984, is that the place to get them?
Yeah, you have to have a DeLorean to get there.
Yeah.
But seriously, the only place that I know on the face of the planet that you can buy those is Dollar General, and they sell them. You get a big bag of them for $1, and they used to be like when I was in middle school. Man, they were the bomb. I bought a bag literally last month. I was in Dollar General and I saw them and I was like, oh my gosh, they're so good. I bought a bag of them. Not only did they change something, because they are not as good. There's not as much stuff in the middle. The flavor is all wrong, but they shred your mouth. Like I ate 2 of them back to back, and I don't bite them. I just like sucked on them because they're hard candies.
Yeah.
And my tongue started bleeding. And so I don't know what it's like Captain Crunch on steroids. It's just a mouth destroyer. And so I was so disappointed, because I was like, I found them, and here they are, and they're going to be so good. And then I ate 2 of them. And I was like, oh no, not only do they not taste good, but now I'm bleeding.
I'll tell you what the problem is. They're too new.
They have to age?
Yeah, you have, you get those right now to give to your grandkids. Those ones that you just bought. They have to age. That's what makes them so good, dude. That sugar just settles in, and the outside shell just begins to disintegrate, and it's a mushy jelly blob, and that's what makes it so good.
That's got to be it.
It's got just the slightest layer of crunch on it that you can smush it with your tongue. Like, that's when they get good.
I did not think about that.
I mean, honestly, who did you get those from whenever you get them? It's from the old people in your life, whether it be from church or, some kind of gathering you went to or something like that. It was always the old people. And I'm telling you, those candies, I don't believe that any trademark date I ever saw in a bag was in the 2000s.
I guess you have a point there.
I know I do. I always have a point.
So I don't know, man, but I know exactly what you're talking about, and I used to think they were the bomb.com, but I was so disappointed the last time. But that's what I should have done. Should have bought that bag. I should have slung it into a closet and forgot about it for about 5 years. And then I would have been set.
Yep. That's exactly what you have to do. Now you'll put those somewhere in the back of a drawer or something like that, and you'll forget about them, and then you'll taste one in several months or maybe next year, and it'll be just a little bit better than you remember the last time you had it. Just a little bit. The cuts aren't quite as deep on your tongue anymore, and that's what's happening, dude. They're aging and they're becoming perfect.
That's what happens. It's like fine wine.
Yeah, dude. It's like turning coal into a diamond. It just takes time and pressure.
The pressure of sitting in the back of a candy drawer.
Yeah, dude. The pressure of gravity. It's sugar. What do you expect?
Man.
All right, Hunter. So going through, we talked yesterday a little bit about last week, what we did, what we did in school, what we do now. So I think it's a good time to kind of talk about the things that made school bearable, because I think we can both agree that between the research and your situation with some advising issues and
an awful, god-awful man who should not have his PhD. I know our friends are listening to this, and you're going to have to let me tangent for just like a second.
Okay.
I know our friends are listening to this. Everybody knows who I'm talking about.
No names.
When I say the god-awful guy who should not have a PhD, I'm not allowed to say his name because we've decided we're going to be nice. It's not a thing he would afford to me, but I'm better than him. However, I'll still do the impersonation. So those of you who know him, you'll get that extra little, just that extra little je ne sais quoi of the impression. But I can't say his name. But I'm gonna rail. I'm gonna tell all those stories, man. Oh, there's no way I'm gonna do this podcast and not tell all the crazy crap that happened to me.
Yes, save them.
I'm saving them. I'm locking it down, but because I get worked up about him still, man.
Calm down. I want you to tell us, Hunter. Tell us some of the stuff that you did in school that wasn't school. Like what were the things that made grad school, undergrad, all that more bearable? Because man, I know that school at times was just absolutely miserable. And I'm guessing that a lot of the people who are listening to us are either old family, friends, or probably in college. So, we're just trying to make sure that people can enjoy school, make it more bearable. And, even if you're not in school, you can do this stuff when you're in work. But what were those things that you did to make life a little more fun and interesting?
I guess the best way to tackle this is to go chronologically, because I'm the type of person who goes through waves of things that I don't necessarily want to call them hobbies, but I guess vices is what I would call them. Things that help me just distract from the everyday. Some constants through my life, of course, have been Transformers. I've always collected Transformers, and I always will. But obviously, to leave that aside, I would buy toys and play with them, and ta-da. Then the other things that I would do in school, the earliest thing I can remember being a vice to help me deal with school, was car club stuff. So I would early on, there was a bigger car scene in our town where our college was. And then as we progressed towards senior year and then grad school, it devolved into people with really crappy Hondas and just rice burners and things that didn't look good. And then like people who had stock trucks and they thought that was, but when I was I was freshman and sophomore year, there's a group of us. I have a Mustang, and I really, really like Mustangs, and I know some people might disagree with me on that, but the only cars I've owned have been Mustangs, and I really like them. I have an 03 GT right now. It's a convertible. It's a manual. It's older, but I love it. It's exactly what I need, except I can't drive it right now. But I had a group of friends, and we'd all get our Mustangs together, and we'd go cruise around. And we'd park them in a parking lot. We get out and we talk, and We never caused any chaos. Like we never did donuts in parking lots. The only time I did donuts was if it was to have snowed. We would go out and do donuts in a parking lot. And that's pretty much acceptable around here. We actually had an officer come by and watch us do donuts when the first year it snowed a whole lot. My freshman year, we had an officer come by and watch us, and he just was like, y'all be careful. So, I never did donuts in like a parking lot or anything like that unless it was snowy. So we were very respectful and very responsible. And that's how you do a car club, boys and girls, is you're very respectful and you're very responsible and you don't raise Cain, and people will let you do pretty much whatever. So we would get together, and then additionally, I would just, if I had a really rough day, it was really cathartic for me to get in the car and just drive. And where we are at, in about 5 minutes in any direction, you could be in a beautiful waterfalls, back roads, like curvy back roads. Like it was really, really pretty. So all it took was about 5 minutes in any direction from campus, and you were on some pretty awesome back roads and seeing some pretty awesome scenery. So a lot of times I just get in the car, be late at night, 10, 11 o'clock, and I just have to clear my head. And so I'd hop in the car and I'd put on some music and I would just drive until I felt better. And so that was probably the earliest thing that I did to deal with school. I got plugged in with the campus ministry, and more so got plugged in with, over the years, it's been a couple different churches, but I've settled at one now. And the common denominator there is I do audio video. So a lot of it is soundboard and mixing, and which is funny because now I have my own mixing console here and a microphone and everything to do this podcast. So I've been training for this my entire life. But that's what I'm really good at is doing the live mixing for shows, and light controls and Pro Presenter and like the lyrics on the screen. At one point, I was managing all of that simultaneously. I was doing soundboard. I was telling the guy what to do about the lights and telling him what to do about the projector. And so I've been really, really deep into the audio video world in terms of volunteering my time at church. It's something I feel like I've been called to do. Some people teach Sunday school. Some people do other things like that. But right now, I feel like I've been called to volunteer my time that way and give back to the church that way, because nobody likes to wake up and come in early and do sound check, but it needs to be done, especially now because we're live streaming. So, we could talk about that later, but that was really something that got me plugged in was being in the campus ministry and doing audio video. And that's actually, one of the main reasons Cody and I started spending a lot of time together, because I mentioned to him that we needed a guitarist, and he got plugged in with our band. And so we spent many, many hours practicing, rehearsing, doing shows, and he was playing guitar and I was mixing. And there were other people there too. And a lot of them were super great people. Some of them weren't, but we can talk about that later. But yeah, that was a fun time. So that's something I think we could go into depth on later. But so that's kind of a footnote there, and I know you'll talk about that too. So I don't want to take all the air out of that conversation. Sure. But then the other thing I did, I built and flew drones for a little bit, and then I crashed one really bad and decided I didn't want to spend more money on it. I built a computer, and it's the computer I've got now. It's actually gone through a couple design iterations. This is what I'm affectionately referring to as my Mark II. So it's been upgraded, but I built a computer from scratch, and that was fun. I worked with the 3D printers, as you guys know from last time. I managed that 3D printer lab, so I spent a lot of time in that maker space working with the 3D printers. I did a lot of fun projects. I 3D printed a RoboCop helmet, and I 3D printed really a bunch of stuff. But the biggest thing that I've done some 3D printing work on and some traditional machine work on is I'm building, slowly but surely, a 1-to-1 scale R2-D2 from Star Wars. He's downstairs in my living room right now. I've got him standing. He's framed in, and he's got his dome just kind of carefully placed on top So the next step for me is to put in the reinforce the frame and put in the electronics and the bearing for his body, his movement, and his dome. So he's to the point now where it's a cool something to look at, but he doesn't move. But I've got that I've been working on for many years. It's something that is kind of taking a back burner right now because I don't have a printer anymore. I don't have access to printers anymore. So I'm kind of letting him marinate right now, but eventually I'll get back into him. But that's been a big part of my of my vice of getting away from the hustle and bustle of every day is just working on that R2D2. So if I had a rough day, I'd go up and I'd work on him and make some parts and put them on, and it was a fun thing to do for a while. So
yeah, he's been years in the making.
Yeah. And I mean, I could have had him finished by now. Don't get me wrong, but I just prefer to take my time with him and not rush through it. And when he's done, I can just say, it took me this long, and I did it my way, and there we go. So
I think with something like that, it's more about doing it than it is like getting it finished. I mean, some people might be, I want to have this thing finished and moving, but I think the joy when you're building something like that, kind of from scratch, printing it, fusing the parts, painting them, you're going to have to end up probably using Arduino or something to code him around and all that stuff. So it's more about the putting it together and having it saying, yeah, I did all this, than it is actually finishing it. Or that's how it would be for me.
Yeah. Like he's basically just a skeleton right now. And like our maintenance guys came in the other day to work on our lights, and they were like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Like we saw R2D2 downstairs. And even though he's not done, all it takes is them seeing the dome and the silver and blue, and people just know who he is. And so the fact that it brings that much joy to people just seeing him sitting in my corner, like he's hollow. You can stick your hand right through his torso. Mm-hmm. But they're like, oh my gosh, we saw R2. That was really cool. So I don't know. It's fun, and it's something I'll definitely finish one day, but it just has to be the right time, and I've got to have the appropriate space to work on him. So
sure. I mean, that's when he says it's a 1-to-1 scale, like you can watch the movies and see how big that R2 was. Like, this thing is big.
He's 18. His dome is 18 inches in diameter.
Like, yeah, this is a big thing. So, every part, generally printers, when you have those, the build plate that the actual stuff, the plastic comes out on, they're not that big. So this thing has to be printed like in parts, they have to be fused together and all that. So yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm pretty sure that there are aren't there R2D2 builder clubs that have like entire workspaces for just dedicated for this?
Well, there's a worldwide club, astromech.net, that's where you get the plans from. That's people from all over the world contributing files for 3D printing and blueprints and all that stuff. But it's all to spec. Like the whole point of the club is to make sure everything is to spec and that it's accurate. So there could be workspaces. I don't really know. But I do know there are people who have built 4, 5, 6 of these things just because they've got it down to a science. And they're just running these parts. So this first one, I'm doing mostly 3D printed stuff with some wood and some traditional machining stuff as well. But I don't. Eventually, I'll do another one, and I think I'll make him out of metal just because
that'll be cool.
But this first one, this practice round, basically, I'm not gonna tear him apart once I'm done by any stretch of the imagination. But this first one, I figured I'd be a little bit more lax with the materials. So he looks good. Like, I mean, you've seen him.
Oh yeah, it looks real good.
So.
That's cool, man.
I think that's it. I mean, I met Bree. Obviously, I started dating Bree in grad school, and so that ended up taking up most of my time. I mean, that's what happens. And I used to get offended, like when some of my friends would start dating, they'd go off, and you wouldn't see them for months. But I mean, that's what happens when you fall in love.
That's exactly how it happens, man. Your priorities change whenever you find the person you're supposed to be with. And that's part of, when you get married, it's the, forsaking all others. That's usually in your vow. And man, that's how it is. Once you find that person, you want to give them all of your time. I mean, I know that's how it was with me and Caroline. So I understand it completely.
Yeah, I used to get, and I was selfish about it. Now looking back, I can see that. But I used to get a little upset at my friends who would start dating somebody, and then you just never hear from them again. But now, like, if any of y'all are in school or in that situation, you don't even have to be in school, but if you're in that situation, just know that yeah, it kind of stinks to lose your friend, but once you get in a relationship, you're going to understand all of it. And I hate that that's the way a lot of things go these days. It's like, well, just wait and see. Once you're in that situation, you'll understand. But it's just the way it is. You can't know until you've experienced something, and it's not malicious. I literally, like, I have to remind myself to spend time with other friends, and it's not that I'm like, oh, the heck with everybody else. I just am so, well, I was about to say living life to the fullest, but my leg's broken. I'm so happy and content where I am right now. It's like you don't even really think about other stuff.
Yeah, and that's kind of a point I was going to make there. You don't necessarily always just cut people out, but man, you move into a different stage of life. I mean, even our friends that aren't married, or they just have a girlfriend or whatever. Even us, being in, we're all working now, so we might see each other, 2 or 3 times a year. It kind of helps that everybody's on social media, so we can all kind of keep up with each other, and you feel like you always know what's going on with people. So it makes things a lot easier, and you don't have to have that awkwardness whenever you all do hang out. But I get it, man. Your priorities change, and nothing wrong with that. You just move into a different space of life.
Yeah, but the friendships you forge that last. I've found this. You can measure a good friendship by this metric. If you can go 5-6 months without talking to somebody, and you call someone up and they're like, "Hey, how are you?" And you're like, "I'm okay. I really got to talk to you about something. I'm really struggling." They're like, "Shoot, let's talk about it." That's how you know you got a friend that lasts. And
sure.
I've got, fortunately, so many of those that I can go months and months and months without even talking to them. And then if I've got a problem or I need help or something, like when I broke my leg, I had to call on people to help. And fortunately, most people volunteered, but there were a couple of people. I was like, "Hey, listen, I really need a hand," and they're like, "I'm there. You just let me know." And
man.
So yeah,
those friends are once you get them, those are the ones that you always want to keep.
That's right.
But you have anything else that you did in?
No, I think that's about it in terms of. Because you could get into hobbies, and that's one thing, but that's about it in terms of things I did to help distract from the hustle and bustle of school. Oh, sure. Swimming! Holy cow! All right, I'll say it real quick because I know we're a little over time, and I don't.
It's all right. We do. We got plenty of time. It's all
right. So I swam competitively for 11 years, starting in elementary school. When I got to school, our school does not have a swim team, and I was really bummed out about it. So I took a class my senior year. It was a swimming class, and I didn't need it because I'd been swimming competitively for my whole life. But I was like, this will be a good excuse to work out, and it fills a credit hour. So I took this class, and the guy that was teaching it at that point was a GA, and he was coming on. He's an adult and he's married and has a family, but he was a GA, and he was getting in with exercise science, the department that hosted that course. And so he and I started talking because he could tell that I was an experienced swimmer, and he was as well, and he was experienced in coaching, and I was experienced in teaching lessons for about 7 years of my life. That's what I did as a job. I was a summer swim instructor with a private swim business in my hometown. And so we bonded quickly over that. And I was like, man, it just really bums me out that we don't have a swim team. And he said, well, why don't we make a club, and let's make a swim club for the campus. And so I co-founded, and for the first 2 years of the club's existence while I was in grad school, I was the president of the swim club. So it's still going. And now that I've graduated, I can't swim now because my leg's broken, as you all very well know. But I still am a member as an alumni. I go back and I'll swim with them. And I also coach. So I'm on the rotation to coach as well. So about every 3 weeks, it's my turn to coach. And so I'll type up a set and I'll coach the rest of the team. And then any other time I'm in the water and I'm swimming with them. So it's kind of something that lasted outside of school, which I thought was pretty cool. So I left my mark many ways at our university, but that was one of them, was founding the swim club, and it continues on to this day, and I'm still proud to be a part of it.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, that's something that, I feel like people when they're in school a lot of times will start clubs and they have a few that like their friends that are in it and whatnot, and once they're gone they kind of fizzle out, but that's neat that you're able to be a part of it and it's still sustained today.
Yeah, that's it. Now I'm done.
Yeah, dude, I was kind of like you though with the hobbies. I transferred schools for my freshman year, and I'll tell you, I feel like my freshman year, my hobby was eating, and the thing that I did was just eat all the time because that's what you do when you have an unlimited meal plan. But no, my freshman year, I played ultimate Frisbee, so that was the thing that I absolutely loved. I was not super great because, as we know, I can't run very fast or jump very high, but I was always down to go play almost to a fault. And one funny story is we went to a tournament and they kind of asked me last minute to go, the actual club team that was there, and I was 18 years old or 19. I don't remember if it had been which semester, but still, hey mom, can I go do this? Can I go do that? And the tournament was in Ohio, so we were staying with one of the members' friends, and he lived there in Ohio. So I called my mom and I texted her and told her when we left, and she was at work during that time. And I got a phone call when we were about halfway through Kentucky, telling her where we were at, and she was not very happy about that one. But yeah, I went to Ohio for a tournament. It was fun. Got to play with people from all over the country. When I transferred schools, kind of had a girlfriend at the time, so that really took up most of my time. But I did music a lot. Once I moved past the girlfriend there, as Hunter said, I was part of one of the campus ministries there, and I did that for a long time. Played acoustic guitar for them. That was, I was kind of focusing my weeks and my time around going to the music, and we practiced and we all hung out together, and it was a good time. So that was one of the things that I really looked forward to. I was part of the robotics club for a little while. That was fun. We worked on a humanoid robot that actually never became humanoid. It was more just 3D printing and putting it together. But it's actually where I met a whole lot of my friends was from robotics there. I got into 3D printing. That was actually my first experience was there at school. And, that was where I kind of picked up that passion for it, was going through all that. And, met Hunter, met some other friends that I'm still friends with to this day. I never got into the droning. They all wanted me to, but, I was never good at it. I tried to fly drones a few times and it just never worked out right. Some of us just have it, some of us don't, and I definitely don't have droning. So, once I moved on, I really kind of picked back up gaming. A lot of my friends, once we all graduated undergrad, they were gone. So jumping on and playing games was one of the few ways that we got to still hang out and talk to each other a few nights a week. We'd do that for hours, and movies. Man, I'm a huge movie buff, TV buff, and I was there living by myself in our college town. Hunter was there. I had some other friends that were there, but I was there by myself, and I was with Caroline at that time. But we, she was still here in our hometown going to school, and I was there. So we were seeing each other, every few weeks or a couple weeks on the weekends and whatnot. So it was just me, and when you're by yourself, you can get through a whole lot of TV shows and series and whatnot. So that was one thing that kept me going. And I'm going to be the cliche person here, but I got into CrossFit, and that was one thing that during really my most stressful time in school, which was my last couple of semesters there, I was literally centering every single day around going to the gym because, man, it was just miserable that last year trying to cram and get everything done. And yeah, dude, I'd center my days around going to the gym. When am I going to be able to work out? And everybody always says you feel better when you do work out, and I did. And pandemic kind of cut me out a little bit on being able to do that, but finally got back into it here in town. But man, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just about to say, isn't that funny? I always felt the same way, whether it was your CrossFit or my swimming. You always dread going. You're like, I don't really want to go to the gym. But then you just feel like $1,000,000 afterwards. And there's something about exercising that just really melts away your stress.
Oh, dude, and it's one of those things that, you don't, when you do that stuff, you're not supposed to be in your general classes competing with other people. But even if you're the first one done or if you're the last one done, man, just knowing you accomplished whatever you accomplished there. And, I'm sure with swimming, it's the same way. You can just come up with workouts that are just absolutely brutal. And, yeah, dude. And that's the same thing with us. Like, I'm not in very good shape right now. Just, pandemic year just hit me hard and I slacked off. I mean, I'll be honest, but, going back now and just slowly improving, week after week, day after day, class after class, it's just being able to get something done. You just feel so much better. And I'll tell you what, when you're working out like that, you really realize how long a minute can be. that's one thing I'll say.
I'm pretty sure time slows down when you have weights in your hand.
Oh gosh, dude, I'm convinced that a burpee is or a plank or burpees. If you're doing a minute of burpees or anything like that, that's the longest minute ever. Because literally, I'll be holding a plank. We'll be doing like an ab workout. I'll be holding a plank for 30 seconds, and then I look at the clock, and only 10 seconds have went by. Like that's how it is. It's miserable, but you feel bad doing it, and right afterwards, you're like, man, that was horrible. But then 20 minutes later, you feel like $1,000,000 when those endorphins start coming out. So, that was really what helped me. And then, obviously during my last semester, I got married, and I don't know if I'd say getting married is a good hobby to have, but it really helped me get through school there. That last one, having my support system there and having my wife, that even though it was miserable, and me being someone who bottles everything up until it's time, like it just can't be bottled up anymore. And she's a teacher for little kids, so I really come to realize how how helpful that is for this grown man over here when you have someone who can just be calm and collected and nurturing to you. So she definitely was able to get me through that last bit of school, because, man, I couldn't imagine trying to do all of that during, the pandemic time without having a support system. Because
I feel the exact same way.
Yeah. You had Bree there. It's, man, if we didn't have those people, I mean, I'm pretty dedicated. I without a doubt feel that I could have got it done, but Caroline definitely made it way, way easier. And like I said, I'm not going to recommend you go get married for for something that to do during school, but whatever you do have someone like that, it definitely makes life way, way better. And it just, your ups and downs, your good days, your bad days, but I'll tell you, I wouldn't trade a single day with her for one without. That's for sure.
Oh, amen to that.
Yeah, we need good women to keep us on the straight and narrow, don't we?
Yeah, she keeps me in line.
Yeah,
the good thing is I need it. I remember we got home one night, and she was there was somebody parked. At that point, we were living in a very small apartment, and somebody was parked in our parking spot, and it was a habit that had unfortunately developed because someone was lazy and didn't want to park 2 or 3 spots down and walk. Instead, they'd park in our spot, which was assigned to our unit, and go in their door. And so I got fed up with it, and so I parallel parked behind their car, And I was going to go inside and leave it. And she's like, listen, she said, I know this is frustrating, but you can't leave your car like this. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Like things like that, you know, she's the voice on my shoulder that helps me not get in trouble, because I would definitely get in trouble if it wasn't for her.
Oh yeah, dude. I'll say this with 100% confidence and honesty. For those people who know me, I'm working on it, but my patience level with a lot of things is zero. I have zero patience for so many things, and I can just get frustrated really easy. Like, I don't have anger problems, but my frustration with things happens and it comes on very, very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And Caroline is the epitome of patience with me and with her job. Like, she teaches school, so she tells me some of the stuff that goes on and what happens, and I'm like, you're just a saint for being able to do that. And
I'd have kicked a kid.
Yeah, I mean, it's some of the stuff she tells me. I'm like, I don't know how you do that, and how how you can deal with that and whatnot. Because I know, like, shoot, as a kid, I was very unruly, so I can imagine what she'd have to go through if she had like a kid like me in class. But yeah, dude, I'm 100% convinced that she was the one that was made for me, because just as quick as I am to get frustrated with things, and I'm one of those people that something that really, really gets on my nerves quicker than about anything is a bad driver. Oh yeah, you know, you're a driver.
Makes
things
me
that
mad.
I'm one of those people that if you do something silly on the road, I'm going to do my best to come up next to you, and I'm going to look at you through the window. Like, that's the person that I am.
And everybody knows the look. It's the wide-eyed, like, mouth pulled tight look, just like the
I couldn't tell you how many times we've been going, and she can always tell when I'm about when I'm about to do this, because I will immediately, when they do something, I'll just look over my shoulder and immediately try to get over into the next lane, because I'm doing what I have to do to get next to them. And she'll just look at me and she'll say, "Don't do it. There's no need. There's no need for it." And I'm like, I know, but they need to know that they were wrong.
I know there's no need for it, but I want to.
And that's how it is, dude. I just want to pull up next to people, and I want them to know that they were wrong.
Yeah.
You know, there's no reason that you needed to pull out in front of me when there's no cars behind me and then go 25. There's no reason for it. So you need to know that that was wrong by me staring at you through the window.
Exactly.
And
yeah, I think I'm gonna make an invention for both of us. It already exists, but I'm gonna make us both something, because when something like that happens to me, I often spout off some sort of quick-witted remark about what they've done. And I'm like, if only they could hear me. So I think I'm just going to put in a PA system on my car, and I'll get you one too, and you can just be like, "Hey!"
Yeah, we better not, because that'll just get us in trouble. But man, yeah, she's the epitome of patience, and definitely, like you said, that voice of reason. Because there's been many times that I feel you. I do want to just parallel park right behind somebody because they do something silly like that. But that's why God made women to be much smarter than us.
You know, I used to roll my eyes at something like that, but it's very true. There's been so many times, and it's not like I'm being stupid on purpose. I just have a certain way of thinking, and I get so one-track minded. And like, she's like, "Why didn't you think about it this way?" And I'm like, "That's a good point."
Why didn't you think about it this way? Because I didn't.
Yeah, because my brain doesn't work.
School has ruined it. But yeah, dude. We so for me, sum it up: music, games, and Caroline. That's what got me through school, and the things that kept me sane during all the nonsense of the 19 years that it felt like I was in grad school. But
Boy, I'm glad to be done with school, period.
Oh my gosh, man, you have no idea.
I mean, I know that's what we talked about last time and this time, and there will be further stories about school. But honestly, I'm much happier to be out of it, and it's not something that I spend a lot of time thinking about. It's a good way to gauge who we are and how we've gotten to this point.
Sure.
But in my day to day life, normally I'm not really thinking about school. I know some people because people are like, you should go back and get your PhD, and I'm like, ha, no.
Yeah, there's been time, and it's because that's all we've known for so long that I'll think about stuff like that. It's like, well, I've done this much, so what's another, 2.5 years or 3 years, do it online or whatever. And then I come home at night and I watch YouTube videos until I'm ready to go to bed. And I'm like, that's why. That's why I did all this, so that I can come home and enjoy my night, so I can spend some time with my wife, and so I can see my dog. Like that's
the
what it
luxury
is.
of clocking out is just
yeah.
because you don't have to think about it. With school, you don't get that. You go home from class, you got homework, you got other stuff to do. You don't get a break unless you take a little bit of time and do a vice or something. But with work, once that clock hits 4:00, my brain turns off, and it's like, I wonder what we're having for dinner, and I wonder what we're going to watch on Netflix, and that's all I can think about, and it's great.
Yeah, kind of the last thing I want to ask you about that here. Did you have that that period of after you graduated where you were just constantly worried because you weren't doing something? Did you have that period?
Yes, but it was channeled into finding a job, because that was during pandemic. After I graduated, I did still work for the university for a little bit, training my replacement, the new graduate assistant who took over the Makerspace. I spent some time there working, and I was basically a temporary employee of the university for a while, and I was job hunting. So yes, but I channeled it into finding a job. And then once I found my job, it all just went away, because then I was just focused on getting started and getting integrated and learning what I needed to do. So once I landed that position, there was like a 2-week period that I got to relax between when my temp employment at the university ended and my new job began. And those 2 weeks, I think, were as close to nirvana as I'd been in a while. Like it was crazy relaxing to just know that everything was okay, and that for the next 2 weeks, all I had to do was chill. So,
yeah, for me, it took me a little longer to find a job, just because of where I'm at, and there's just the positions aren't here, and this is where I wanted to be. So it was a little more exclusive and harder to find. But whenever I first graduated, I would literally, and I kid you not, I would wake up for several weeks. I woke up in the middle of the night because I was worried that I had missed something, that I had an assignment coming up, that I couldn't tell you how many dreams that I honestly had about my research not being finished.
Mm.
And this was when, I had a diploma hanging on the wall. I had graduated, I had the piece of paper, all of that. And I would wake up in the middle of the night and be just in a panic because is there a test? Did a simulation not work out? Was something needed to be done because I hadn't done anything in 2-3 weeks or whatever. But
yeah,
it was, and on top of that, I had the stress from I started looking for a job honestly in February, planning for whenever I graduated. And then time kept coming around, and then it was March, and then it was May, and then it was July. And then I was officially graduated in August. So literally from August until almost the end of November, I didn't have a job. I had a few interviews, but I had this. So the stress of finding a job, the stress of kind of getting out of that school mindset, and the research, because school and research are two separate monsters that you have to kind of fight at the same time. But being able to get out of that mindset, it honestly from, I was done with my classes in May, very beginning of May, but it took me honestly from May to, I'd say probably till November or December until I was like never having those worries anymore. And it was,
Wow.
yeah, dude, it took me a long time. I mean, as I said, I bottled everything in, so all that stress is sitting right here behind my neck. So it was it was just weighing on me, man. I was tense all the time. My shoulders were always drawn up just because of everything, but it went away eventually. And I right now have no desire to go back to that. No desire to get back into a stage where, waking up at night hoping something's done. I mean, I've thought about, going back to, like at the community college and maybe taking some like coding classes, something to just learn where it doesn't like matter how I do in it. But,
Right.
but yeah, the thought of going back to school right now is just it's a big no for me, dog.
Yeah, I almost got hired on at the university. It wasn't something I was looking for, but they offered it to me, and ultimately it didn't go my way. And I'm thankful that it didn't, because I don't think I could have handled working back there still.
I'd applied for a job. It was at a another community college, not the one in my town, but it was one at the town over or something. And it was a tenure track position, and it wasn't, the first thing I'd applied for. I applied when it became available for it, but I thought I would enjoy teaching. I thought I'd enjoy, at that level where it's not all about research. It's not all about, the accolades. You're teaching these 18 and 19-year-olds. But yeah, I can imagine trying to graduate from university there, then jumping right back into it. That'd be a tough one, especially with working with the people that you didn't appreciate so much from grad school.
Yeah, I'm eternally thankful that it didn't work out.
And it's funny because those things happen. As I'm sure you've noticed, Hunter and I are both believers in Christ here, but definitely a God thing. Where I ended up in the position I was in, it was a God thing. I'd say the same thing is for you, being where you're at, what you wanted to be doing. So,
absolutely,
those things just work out, and not in our time, but
yep.
It always works out for the best that way.
For sure.
Well, Hunter, I think that this is a fine and dandy place to stop this bad boy.
Oh, heck yeah. We covered a lot. I was kind of worried that we wouldn't hit an hour, but here we are over.
I think that 60 to 90 minutes, I think that's going to be our sweet spot. We may have like a Halloween special where we go for 2 hours, but I think that range is going to be where it's at. And, we're going to look, I'm sure this one will end up still being on YouTube also, but we're going to look and see about maybe something on Spotify, just because I think that's a little bit easier for most people for podcasts. And who knows, maybe in a few episodes we'll get pretty good at this, and we can cut out some little snippets and things like that, and kind of give you a teaser of what the episode's going to be about. But big things coming. Like I said, this is our retirement. We're doing this so we can quit working at 30.
That's right.
You'll know we made it when Joe Rogan shouts us out.
That's right. Joe Rogan all day.
All right, Hunter. Well, you have any social medias you decided to share, or you still just not want people to bother you?
No, right now there's nothing. When we talk about hobbies and stuff, we can talk about my YouTube exploits, and then we can talk about that then. But for now, we'll just save that. We'll save that little snippet for later.
All right. Well, there you go. Hunter doesn't want you to bother him, so leave him alone. Go follow the Twitter. Like I said, it's the Sun Pod on there. Always going to put the link for the YouTube video, and whenever if we end up on Spotify, it'll be on there too. And I know you hate hearing it, but like the video, and if you subscribe and all that, because that helps us to stay relevant.
Please.
I promise you, we're not doing that just for the numbers.
As someone who's done YouTube for a while, if you want to hear the content, it's required. You have to like the video, you have to subscribe, and you have to hit the bell. It's just the way it works.
So, if you can do that, if not, we understand. We probably wouldn't do it to us either. But Hunter, my friend, it's been good talking to you.
Same here. It's been good talking to you.
All right, we'll do this again in a week or so, and
sounds good to me.
Hopefully, going forward, everything will be released on Wednesday, but we'll say Wednesday/Thursday is going to be our window.
Right.
All right, man. We will talk to you out here in about 30 seconds.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
See ya.